Hello, and welcome to the AstroEnergy Astrology Show podcast with Astrologer Shelley Overton. Hello, and welcome to the January 8th, 2021 edition of the AstroEnergy Astrology Show podcast. My name is Shelley Overton. I'm an astrologer in Orlando, Florida. I want to welcome you here. We're going to be talking about a lot of things today because it's been kind of a busy week. And you might notice the first thing, my hair is a little bit shorter today. Not everybody notices, but last week my daughter said that there was a hair in the back that was darker than the rest, so she wanted to cut it. She cut off that much hair. So, which for those of you listening is about 2 inches off the back. So it's okay. I was going to do that anyway. And so I just raised it up and now I have a nice new haircut. Welcoming in the new year. So, anyway, where do I begin? So let's see. Guess let's begin with the news of the week, which is the political insurrection, which is absolutely the word I'm going to use for it. That's what it was by definition. And so we're going to talk about what was going on in the planets then. I personally was on my way to get a coffee at Dunkin' Donuts with my daughter, and we were listening to the election results, the vote in the Congress, when they basically said things had all broken loose, all hell had broken loose. So we got our coffee and raced home and watched it on TV for the next 10 hours. So I'm going to do a chart for that time, and I've got it at 2:45 p.m. Washington, D.C. I use Porphyry, which is the type of system to read a chart, and that's my preferred system, not tropical or any of the others, just Porphyry. So it shifts a little bit on the horizon, on the rising sign, and if you want to set yours up, set it up to match mine, it would be Porphyry. So I've got on the day, which was January 6th at 2:45 p.m. Washington, D.C., Gemini was on the horizon. So of course we know Donald Trump is a Gemini, puts the sun in the first house, pretty close to the North Node in Gemini. So that's a point of fate, a node of fate, which is learning how to be responsible on some level for speech, for the duality that we have in our world. And it is a positive energy. Usually it transmutes the negative energy, but because it is a node of fate, it is a significant point in the first house at this moment, because it is a moment, a turning point, so to speak, of energy, a shift of energy, a transmutation that can happen with energy. Excuse me. So looking over to the sun at that moment in time was at 16 degrees of Capricorn. Pluto is at 24 degrees of Capricorn. Mercury at 27 degrees of Capricorn. He was just getting ready to finish up his time in Capricorn, and at the time of this recording has since moved into Aquarius, and I'll just let you know when that was. It was 7 a.m. Today's Friday, 7 a.m. Eastern Time, and 4 p.m. Pacific. Mercury enters Aquarius, and then at 10:41 a.m., which just happened, Venus is now in Capricorn. So we'll get to this week's chart, but I'm going to just do the insurrection chart, and that's just, it's kind of a factual, definitive way to describe it. So one word, and that's what we are at. So Mercury was at 27 Capricorn, N degrees, wrapping up this populist exacerbation, so to speak. At that moment, Mercury was squaring Mars at 29 degrees of Aries. 29 degrees and 56 minutes. So literally Mars was 2 hours away from moving into the sign of Taurus. And So that is a very significant point. And remember last week I said as we move from one sign to another, there's like this final push and exacerbation of the energy and its aggression, assertiveness. We went over all this before. So that energy was kind of boiling and coming to a boil to be expressed at that moment in time. Now, what I'm really finding interesting, first off, the moon was at 22 Libra, so there was an opposition to the moon. On Inauguration Day, we have that exact degree, 29 degrees, is where the moon is on an Inauguration Day, 29 degrees of Aries. So what does that say? For me, that says there's definitely going to be more aggressive, emotional uprising. And I think it would be safe to say they need to leave fences up around the Capitol building because that's where the inauguration will be. Mars on that day, so again, Mars was at 29 and 56 minutes of Aries on January 6th at 2:45 p.m. And on Inauguration Day, Mars is at exactly the same degree, not the minute, but the same degree as Uranus. So 6 degrees Mars and 39 minutes. Uranus at 6 degrees and 44 minutes. So I find that really interesting because 44 is Obama's presidential number and Uranus is the collective. So and it's alternative mindset, it's progressive mindset. And then Mars is taking action, pushing through the energy. And they're only literally 5 minutes of astrological time in the sign before Mars is exactly conjunct Uranus, which is a little concerning, well, a lot concerning to me, given that the moon is also at the same degree as this insurrection. So we've got this cluster, the stellium of moon, Mars, Uranus. And what do those three mean? Moon is emotionalism, tends to be nurturing, but remember, it rules the sign of Cancer, and Cancer squares Aries. So it is really a push against, like 90 degrees push against the energy of nurturing, but it is also the sign of new birth, new children, youthful energy, really expressing out. And when you look at the connection of a Saturn cycle, you've got 28, 29, 30 years for Saturn to go one full time through the zodiac. So the end degree of one house, 30 degrees, is definitely like a maturity level, like coming to maturity, or not necessarily if it is in reference to what's been going on, it is a culmination energy as opposed to a maturity. It's like when a CD, if you buy a CD and this like monetary CD and it matures, it's like, okay, this is done, this is fulfilled, moving on to the next energy. So we have that moon right at the same exact degree that everyone rushed the Capitol building saying, no, this is not okay, we want to change things, we want to be heard, which, you know, I'm a firm believer that every voice should be heard. It's obvious that they're very upset and that they need to have something heard, but we have to find a way to understand what they're saying. So they feel maligned, they feel like they're not listened to, and they feel like they don't agree with the track the country's taking. But in my personal belief, that information is very faulty and it isn't necessarily truthful. We have a Gemini president who is able very charismatically to see more than one way of communicating and charming a crowd. So that energy is doing that for a great many people, including my parents. And so we've got this energy really wanting to be heard, but going about it the wrong way. So that energy is potentially going to culminate in another event. It does concern me because Uranus can be explosive. Mars is activating Uranus. In Taurus, it's groundedness, it is the material world, it is about understanding things through a slow process and not being brash. That being said, Uranus is not the sign, the planet, to activate slowness. It is very quick thinking, it's quick-minded, it is explosive at times, and we've got Mars wanting to fight. So the thing that I see, though, the good news for how things can move forward is that Taurus is a voice of reason on some level and will say, no, this has to be grounded. And because Uranus is a highly electrical energy, it's technology and computers, it's the power grid, it's lightning in a bottle is really what Uranus and Taurus is really trying to contain that lightning. And Mars is activating the lightning. Now, Taurus is the energy that everything moved into at the beginning of the year. Let me see here real quick. Yeah, so we have, excuse me, not Uranus, Saturn and Jupiter went into Aquarius at the beginning or very end of the year. And no, I'm sorry, the beginning of this year. It was just recently, but seems so long ago. Anyway, they both went in at the beginning of the year. And so they both talk to each other, and now they're in Uranus's sign. So they all answer to Uranus, which I find really interesting from a mythological standpoint. I might talk more about that another time. But if I'm not mistaken, Saturn was Uranus's father. And now Uranus is really the ruler of Aquarius, and the energy Saturn is answering to being in Aquarius. So, and there are co-rulerships in astrology. I'm not going to get any further into that. But Saturn being in its child's sign, so to speak, and answering to Uranus. Uranus is a new way of looking at things. It is the alternative viewpoint. It is the collective, the union, united. This country was founded at the very end degrees of Capricorn and the beginning degrees of Aquarius. So the majority of the beginning years of this country's life were answering to Aquarian energy and bringing in the collective and finding independence while also understanding each individual's place in the collective. So having Uranus and Taurus is saying, you know, there's a freedom that is imbued, but also a desire for progression and expansion of ideas. And then you have Mars saying, okay, I was just at the end degrees, literally at the end degrees of Capricorn creating this Aries creating this upheaval. And I'm pretty riled up. So what are we going to do in the culmination of this energy? How's it going to look? And then Moon at the moment. So what I did was I did an inauguration chart for noon on Wednesday, January 20th. And that's Washington, D.C., which means that that's the time the event's supposed to begin. I don't necessarily believe that, you know, Joe Biden will have his hand on a Bible at that moment. But when he says he swears to uphold the laws and integrity of this office and country, that's the moment that it will actually kick in. So for our purposes, the event is scheduled for noon on the 20th of January, and at noon on the 20th in Washington, D.C., the moon is at 29 degrees 2 minutes of Aries. So it is that same energy of this insurrection energy. And so it is going to be very volatile. I would absolutely say Mars on Uranus and Moon at the last degrees of Aries is going to be a challenge. And I think that if I've seen anything from the fallout of all this with how upset people are that there wasn't better protection, probably going to have enormous amounts of protection at this event. Just because Donald Trump acquiesces and says that he agrees to make a smooth transition doesn't mean that followers are going to do the same. So it's going to be, at times it could be intense. And there were 2 bombs found on Wednesday. Gosh, it's Friday. It seemed like yesterday for that, but it's been 2 days already. Yeah, there were 2 bombs found. So I would definitely say that's a potential in this coming inauguration because of Mars-Uranus conjunction. Not only is that happening, but the moon is squaring the sun on that day. The sun moves in Actually, it may have moved in earlier on Inauguration Day. So let me look that up real quick for you. Okay, so the sun enters Aquarius at 3:40 p.m. on the 19th. And then the moon enters Taurus at 1:56 p.m. So this was a point that I noticed and I wanted to address in this particular recording, that we have the moon-Mars connection to the placement of the two events, but we also have an energy of the sun and the moon squaring. And so the connection was that 2 hours before Mars went into the sign of Taurus on the day of the insurrection, that was when it happened, 2 hours before. Inauguration is scheduled to be at noon, 2 hours before the sun, no, 2 hours before the moon goes into Taurus. So we've got this connection between the two, that not only is there a moon moving into Taurus and Mars moved into Taurus, but they're happening, the events are both aligning to be within 2 hours of the event itself. So 2 hours after the beginning of this, the moon moves into Taurus. So what does that say? To me, that says there's a transmutation shift of energy, but potentially also some culmination in the material world, the manifestation of some of this anger in a potentially explosive way, with Mars, Uranus, and the moon all within the first 6 degrees of Taurus, which is material world explosion. It can mean, in the looking at markets, it can mean that it will make the markets go up. It can make the markets volatile. And honestly, with Mars on Uranus and Taurus, it could make it be a significant venue, that being the stock market exchange. I don't know if they are on hold on Inauguration Day because it's a Wednesday. Maybe they have time out for that. I don't know, probably not. But I think it will absolutely have a connection and a connotation to the financial markets. And its desires. Taurus it's ruled by Venus. It is the goddess of love. And she is the ruler also of Libra, which again, remember, the moon was in Libra at the insurrection time. And that is 22 Libra, opposite Mars. So there was a sense of balance. And if you think about what Congress is and the Senate, the Capitol building, it's kind of the scales of justice, and there are a lot of lawyers who are in that building at that time, but the scales of balance and justice, and moon is homeland. So there's an opposition of what that means. The Capitol building, I would definitely align with the moon energy on the day of the insurrection. And then Mars at 29 Aries, battling against it like a tantrum, like we're not being heard, we're going to throw a tantrum, and we're going to come in and do damage and sit in people's chairs, like sit in my mommy's chair and take a picture. I mean, that's the kind of energy I get from this, because it is Aries, it's tantrum territory. And so having the moon go all the way around to the other side of the zodiac at inauguration, it's kind of like, okay, now kind of like mommy's going to have a say. And but mommy's also understanding the tantrum and then going to do something, catching up to Mars. So remember, from the time of the insurrection to the time of the inauguration, the moon is coming around, kind of like mom at work, coming around to the other side to take care of parenting the child. And that's what Mars energy, when it's acting out, is really that final push of that anger and aggravation and frustration. It's a frustration energy. And I know both parties, the country is feeling this frustration right now. And there is definitely a sense of birthing. And keep in mind that Aries, the first house, is the rising sign when children are born. When anything is born in a chart, it's the horizon. It's the first house ruled by Aries. So it is that expelling of the energy of getting born. And then the second house is the house where we realize that this is a physical existence. And so that's when, so to speak, the chickens come home to roost. You know, it's like, okay, you can throw your tantrum only for so long, and now we're going to have to do something about it. But that being said, Uranus is about balance. Well, not about balance. It's about understanding the value that everybody has in the collective, like each person's individual place. So having this energy happen on Uranus, yes, in a physical, tangible sense, it rules air and electrical energy and lightning storms and upheaval, and we can see some of that energy when events like this occur. I know the weather can change. We can see strong energetic forces of nature, such as wind and tornadoes, and oceans can be in roiling motion. That is a manifestation of the physicality of Uranus and Taurus, is having this strong energy that we all feel go out into the collective, creating weather, which honestly, personally, that's what it does all the time anyway. We have our own energy we give to the collective, and then the weather patterns are continually moving and changing, and it's a symbiosis. Getting a little deep here, but basically the weather feeds on the energy we give it, and we feed on the energy it gives us. So there's this symbiotic relationship going on in the world, and we see it collectively in the physical material world as electrical outages and tornadoes and storms that are windy or lightning, electrical grids and computer outages. I would not be surprised if there was some type of technical electrical event that affects a lot of people. Like I said, the stock market is kind of that expression of Taurus. So that's kind of the quintessential image or icon of what Taurus energy would be. Online business, online technology related to business, retail, money, currency, any of that is going to be probably vulnerable on the 20th due to this intense energy. Now, the other side of it could be, and there will be another side of it, there's always another side of things, but Uranus rules multiples. So there are multiple angles and multiple realities that are experienced through this energy. And honestly, if you want to get into quantum reality, there are always multiple angles because every individual has their personal point of view. But as a collective, which Uranus rules the collective, we focus our energy in a certain direction, whatever that is. And so I would say, because Uranus is a ride that can be very wild, like a roller coaster, there can be some of that energy in the day. It can go up, it can go down. It can be, wow, we've got a new president, it goes up. Oh no, something happens, it goes down. That's kind of what that stellium of astrological energies are doing. Okay, and then on top of it, as if that weren't enough, we have the sun, again, that evening before the inauguration is at 0 degrees of Aquarius, opening up to understanding, clarity, an expansive mindset, which is Aquarius, answering to Uranus and Taurus, trying to now ground. Not only is the sun going to be answering to Uranus, it's coming in Taurus, which is the grounded energy, but it's coming up on Saturn at 3 degrees of Aquarius. So on Inauguration Day, we have the sun coming now into the energy of expansion, but also being immediately grounded as he runs into Saturn energy in the new Aquarian energy. So, and then right after that, as let's see, so just consider the sun moving a degree a day. There are 30 degrees in a sign, so 0 to 1 is the first day. That's the beginning, the new initiating energy. It's probably no surprise that the founding fathers decided to create Inauguration Day at the beginning 0 degree day of Aquarius, which is the collective coming together. I know that through study and other astrology information that Washington, D.C. was laid out by the Masons in the shape of the constellation Virgo, which is the sign of service and help and work. And so extrapolating out from there that, okay, the inauguration day, a new president taking charge, is a sign of the people, Aquarius, and an expression of the new in a great sense, and clarity. Makes complete sense. Our inauguration day is the first day of Aquarius. And so one day at a time, one day for 1 degree, we've got 3 days in is Saturn. So that can be 3 months into the inauguration, or even 3 years. So there will be something going on 3 years down the road where the sun by progression meets up with Saturn, and then right after it at 7 degrees, Jupiter. Yeah, and then we've got sun meeting Jupiter at 7 degrees, and that would be 7 days after the inauguration. So within the first week, there could be some type of upheaval going on with the structure of that. Hello. So yeah, look to that energy coming in, like within a week of inauguration, that there is going to be some type of transformative event going on with the collective consciousness. And then Venus, she only stays in Capricorn for about a month, and she's already at 15 degrees by the day of the inauguration. And so she moves in to a new sign, Aquarius, of course, on the 2nd of February. So we are in Aquarian times. And that means that we're going to be experiencing our desire for the collective energy to come together. She is very charismatic, so I do see that that's probably Kamala Harris or even others in politics, showing that charisma and intelligence, which is the Aquarian energy very strongly, immediately stepping in. So yeah, what did I say, the 2nd of February. It is times that you say expect the unexpected. It's probably going to be a presidency of the unexpected, and probably a certain amount of chaos, as we've already seen. But it is a time of growth and understanding and expansion on incredible levels that we have not experienced for probably 265 years. Having Pluto at n degrees of the sign of Capricorn, in basically within 3 degrees of a conjunction to the natal Pluto in this country, is significant. It is a change in the country, a change in the ideology and the mindset and psychology of the collective. And that being said, also Pluto moving into Aquarius, you can see what's happening with Saturn and Jupiter moving into Aquarius. So, you know, I haven't lived through these times in my life. None of us have, because Pluto has not been in Aquarius since the founding of the country, which means we are going to experience that same kind of transformative, transitionary energy. And I do see Pluto is life and death. It is rebirth. It is, like I said, psychology, but is joint. It is connectedness to others and very deeply connected. So I think what I would predict for Pluto moving into Aquarius in a few years is that as that happens, when that happens, it'll go into Aquarius, then retrograde back into Capricorn for a final time before he moves direct into Aquarius finally, which I believe is early 2024. I'll have to look that up. But when that happens, it is a transformative psychology. It is very much, we are done with that energy and now we're moving on. So interestingly, that falls in another election year. So it'll be really interesting to see how that occurs politically for the world. We are not the only ones going through this transformative energy. It is all around the world. We are in a pandemic. It affects everyone. And so Pluto also is a very slow-moving planet that can affect everyone and does affect everyone. Generationally, it takes almost 20 years, depending, because it goes into different signs for different amounts of time. But, you know, somewhere between 15, 16 years and 24, I believe, that length of time, a whole generation has Pluto in a single sign. So when Pluto shifts to a new sign, it affects generations of people, very large quantities of people. So we will see that. And 2024, honestly, I know we have the vaccination. I know that this virus is transforming already. It's in its second iteration. And that may be the cat and mouse game that we have with coronavirus. So we'll have to keep an eye on that as we get closer to that time and really look at the energy of what Pluto's going to do, and how he interacts with the planets in this day and time versus the past. So anyway, let's get back to, I'm glad I got all that out at the beginning, and I'm going to go back over what we're doing this week. So hang on, I've got my chart up there, but I want to see it all laid out in the Virgo tangibles. Okay, so Wednesday, all highlighted here, Mars went into Taurus, 5:27 p.m. And that, like I said, it was 2:45 when the rioters broke through the barriers for the Capitol. And then Wednesday we had Moon in Scorpio, or Thursday, excuse me, Moon went into Scorpio. And then today we've got Mercury entering Aquarius, Venus entering Capricorn. And then we have Moon in Scorpio sextiling the Sun at 11:11 a.m., which is a really good, and we just passed that. And then we have a trine of Moon to Neptune. So the trine of Moon to Neptune, again, I'm honestly much more on board with squares, and that's what's happening Inauguration Day with the Uranus and Aquarius planets squaring each other, because it's transformative. It says to me, this is something you need to look at that will have to shift, but this is a cooperative energy that needs to change, as opposed to a trine, which I think trines lull us into a sense of probably dreamy, kind of a dreamy lull of acquiescence, which means we think, oh, they're a positive aspect. Yes, the planets understand each other in trines, but they can also act in ways that we would not want to have happen. We're like, no, that's not what I wanted to do, but yet it happens. So then we have to deal with it. And looking at the Moon trining Neptune tells me it's going to be a very emotional day today. And the Sun sextiling Neptune means that, and in my life I would read this as, because I have Moon in Scorpio, I would read this as I have idealized situations that will not come to fruition with my mother, and that the Sun, which is my father, will massage over the situation. So Sun sextile Neptune means that there is an ego or father figure, an authority figure that acts in cooperation with the dream, which is a really good energy. Sextiles are some of the best. And then tonight at 9:44 p.m. Mercury squares Mars. So Mercury in Aquarius is communication of the collective ideal, and desire that we all have a place together, and that Mercury is a lesser vibration of that Aquarian energy. So now having Mercury in Aquarius is really a very intellectualized mindset of the collective. And then squaring Mars in Taurus, again, there's that square. It's like, okay, but I need to take my time, and yet it's going to be a trigger for that Mars on Uranus. And so my guess is, if anything happens with the insurrection, 25th Amendment or impeachment, chances are it's going to come out tonight, closer to midnight, or closer to 10 o'clock, which is when that aspect hits. So it wouldn't surprise me. And then the Moon enters Sagittarius on Saturday morning at 6:15 p.m. or a.m. And so early in the morning we've got Moon entering Sagittarius, which is like, I want to be free, let's just move on. So that may be the response. And I wrote on this day, authoritarian Venus, friction with Mars energy, love and money. And of course, because of what's going on with the Capitol and the politics and the government in America here, that's probably going to be part of it. So definitely I see Friday night, Saturday is a big day with what's going on. We've got Moon and Mars in conjunct to Mars, Moon in Sagittarius in conjunct to Mars in Taurus at 8:17 a.m., which means the what would be good for home, in this case homeland politically, is at odds with wanting to take it slower. Mars and Taurus. We're not quite there yet. We don't know if we want to do that. But let me see. Do they actually join? I'm just looking for when Mars joins up with Uranus. That's Inauguration Day, so that's not going to happen right then. Yeah. But there are a couple of sextiles, a couple trines with the moon, and then Venus trines Mars at 10:53 a.m. on Saturday. So, yeah, Venus and Mars are actually in cooperation that day to some extent. And again, because it's a trine, probably going to be a few people not liking the outcome of what goes on there. But it is an energy of cooperation in essence, that moving forward to something that we both agree has to happen. And then Mercury joins up with Saturn at 10:17 p.m. Saturday. So the idea and the tangible construction of it are in cooperation. They actually act in tandem. And again, because it's Aquarian energy, this is also, if you think about it, the inauguration of any president on January 20th is going to be affected by this energy. So I know that former presidents will be showing up at the inauguration. And so, you know, of course, potentially Trump won't. But because he was inaugurated with the sun at 0 degrees of Aquarius, he is affected. His identity as a president is affected by this shift. And as all of the presidents, former and now future, will be. So let's see if there's anything else I want to tell you. Okay, I got something here for Sunday, and it's highlighted. Jupiter squares Uranus at 5:50 p.m., which is the first of 3 squares. Or no, it might be the last of 3 squares, excuse me. But anyway. Well, anyway, I know I should know that. Wow. Okay. Might have to have a break here. Oh, we're in a new year. Saturn Uranus squares. Okay, yeah. So it's the first. Actually, that can't be right. It's Jupiter. Where's the Jupiter square? Over here. Yeah, I don't have that information, so I guess I'll just have to edit that out. Anyway, on Sunday, back up. How did I get to February, for frick's sake? Here we go. That's not it. Okay, cut all that, because that's next week, not this week. Okay. So there's a new moon in there is a new moon in Capricorn on the 12th, and that's at 23 degrees, which is the world point, and that's very significant for next week because not only is there a new moon at the degree with which we had the stellium in January of 2020, creating the new year and beginning all of the, well, it was the impeachment days, it was coronavirus, so it was very significant. Now we have a new moon, initiating energy, authority energy at that degree, and it's also the same day. I'm just looking up when it actually goes in. So the new moon is in the evening at 9 o'clock p.m. Pacific and midnight on the 13th of January Eastern. And so that's the evening, right across the evening sky. And so that's going to be real strong connection to what's going on with the impeachment. And chances are by then there will be a second impeachment because it's reinitiating that same energy. We have Mercury squaring Uranus and Taurus. So again, we're having that frustration of the collective, like the idea of what's best in our minds and what is clarifying, to Taurus, which wants to take its time. So in this case, I see probably the Republicans represented by Uranus and Mercury represented by the Democrats, and those who have agreed that raiding a Capitol building when sessions are in is probably a bad idea and illegal. Venus in Capricorn squaring Chiron at 4:04 p.m. that same day. Also a significant, difficult time. So there's going to be an ego hit. Venus in Capricorn, probably Nancy Pelosi squaring Chiron in Aries again. Chiron in Aries, don't underestimate that. That's the wounding, and that's really, Aries is the tantrum. So you've got the people who are feeling not heard and want to throw a tantrum squaring the authority figure, which is Venus in Capricorn. And that happens on the 12th, next Tuesday the 12th. So, and Uranus finally next Thursday goes direct. And that will be a significant day for the energy of what's going on. Again, Jupiter squares Uranus on Sunday, a week from Sunday the 17th. And so there is a lot going on politically between now and then in America. And we have, let's see, Sun in Capricorn, Pluto in Capricorn. The ego is going through a transition phase of letting go of having to be the one always to right the wrongs and be in charge, and that goes for everybody. If you have Capricorn in your chart, you are not the one to hold the energy of authority and restriction. At end degrees of Capricorn, it's time to let go of that need to tell everybody what to do and how to be and point a finger, but to look to yourself and own your own crap, basically. And so now it's like, okay, I can't do it for you anymore. I can't be your guardian and your authority figure and your savior. I have to save myself. And that's the energy of late degrees Capricorn. So then we have Mercury, Saturn, Jupiter, and Pallas Athena in Aquarius. And that is kind of heralding a new energy of inclusion with Aquarian energy. And Neptune is right next to Sirius, and that is the earth and harvest. It is also the oceans in Pisces. So Neptune, Sirius is more like fishing and fisheries, and Vesta is opposite Neptune right now. So there's some type of keeper of information that is up against resistance to people who are looking to, and I would see that probably as the vaccine also, because the vaccine's a liquid. It goes into your body, into your veins, into your blood, which is the liquid of Neptune. Sirius is like things that nourish, like healthful growth of, like it is based in cereal and wheat and keeper of the agriculture. So there's probably something going on there with what's going on in the fruitfulness of the oceans. But also opposite Vesta, which is keeper of the documents, there's something going on there associated with the oceans as a storyline. So pay attention to that this week. That's today. And then, yeah, all the other stuff that I mentioned. So we've got Moon in Scorpio at 18, just past my natal Moon-Neptune conjunction, which should be interesting. And today, at the moment I'm doing this, is trining Neptune. So there is some deeper story probably associated with the virus. Those of you who didn't see my last week's video podcast, my brother-in-law passed away on the 29th of December from coronavirus and pneumonia, which he got because of the virus. And his parents both passed away the week before. So there's a tremendous amount of sadness and mourning and loss in my family right now. And so I just want to tell you, it is real, it is dangerous, and it would be best to keep your mask all the way over your face. Please take care, be safe, and buckle down, get your coping mechanisms ready, because it's going to be a wild ride. Anyway, I love you. Thank you for watching, and share the podcast if you can. Take care. Bye. Hang on, I just had something. What the heck was it? Okay. Now I'm going to have to edit more. Oh, yes.
You have been listening to the AstroEnergy Astrology Show. If you would like to get a private reading with Shelley, please contact her through angeliczodiac.com or at so@angeliczodiac.com. You can arrange a reading through the Angelic Zodiac page at facebook.com as well. Check out Angelic Zodiac on Instagram for up-to-date information on events, discounts, blogs and planetary transits at Angelic Zodiac 1 on Instagram. If you would like to see Shelley's art, ShelleyOverton.com, or for astrology art, go to astroart.net. Music provided by Kevin MacLeod at incompetech.com. Other music will be credited within the show. Advice given in the program is intended for entertainment purposes only. Join us here next week for more of the AstroEnergy Astrology Show podcast. You can find us on iTunes and Google Play, and where podcasts are accessed.